Hey everybody, Man in Orbit here, coming at you with another EQ2 Origins, a Nasty Soul guide, this time for tanking and tanking related issues we face in the game. Now, I personally main a Berserker. I absolutely love it. Absolutely think tanking is one of the most fun and challenging ways to stay engaged with EverQuest 2 that I've seen in an MMO in a very, very, very long time. Remember that right now Origins is currently in EoF. The I tanked all through DOF and KOS as well. I think it's in probably one of the best spots it's been in. Except for a couple bugs that I went over in my Christmas game update report yesterday. We're not here to talk about mitigation today. So, I wanted to get into some things that I do to make myself successful as a tank, hoping that these tips and tricks help other tanks or new players to the server in some way. To start with, I want to get into Dark UI. Now, I use Dark UI, which you can get from, I think it's eqinterface.com or eq2interface.com. I personally love Dark UI. I think it has a lot of functionality and it looks a lot better than the default UI. It also provides tanks or healers with a lot more information and tools that help them be more successful quickly in the middle of combat. So I wanted to go over my windows in Dark UI first to show you what I use and why I have it set up the way that I do. You'll see here's all the windows that are on my UI. If I have a target, we have target and target up here. I largely ignore this top left portion of the screen. I have my buffs and debuffs all listed over here, my maintain spells window. This right here shows my buffs when they are up so that I can see how much time is left on them. For instance, Blood Craze is at 18 minutes left. I also have Open Wounds with 41 seconds left. This way I don't have to dig into this tiny window over here. I can look for an icon in my spell monitor window. So I have all the important spells that I need to monitor here. This is my auto attack timer, so when I'm fighting something, I can see that I'm close enough that I'm actually swinging my weapon. I think this is a very important window to have up if you're a melee DPS class. I have my group window right here. Below where my camera is, I have two chat boxes, one for guild, raid, and tells, and one for general chat and general spam, combat spam, so on and so forth. I have a couple tabs on my bottom window to filter those things as I see appropriate. Again, this is all personal preference. Right below my character, I have my target and target's target window. So there's my target. Right now, Raven doesn't have a target. Raven is actually a pet. Let's see if I can target a person, and you'll see what they're targeting as well. The Raven, again, doesn't have a target. I can't show you this right now. But when a target has a target, you'll see the third target right here. This is actually very important for tanking because while you're tanking a mob, let's fight these, let's see if we can get a target. When they are targeting you, this right box where my mouse is will be blank. When they are targeting somebody who is not you, that will have somebody on somebody's name. So if it all of a sudden starts targeting your healer, you'll see the healer's name show up right there, and then you know that you need to taunt. So that works extremely well for tanking, having that information close and available. This is my detrimental spell effect window. A lot of times you'll get noxious or traumas debuffs on yourself throughout fighting. I like to have it close by so I can see it. If it's off on the side or off on the in a corner somewhere, I can't see what those are, and you can mouse over those detrimental effects to see what they're doing to you. So, like for instance, in Halls of Fate, there's a debuff that some of the droags do that debuffs my mitigation by 2300. I like to know that that's up really quickly without having to move my avert my gaze to the corners of my screen or notice it up here. You'll notice on this group window there's these boxes. This is one of the best features of Dark UI. It doesn't really apply as a tank, but it does apply as a healer class. These show if I have a trauma, a noxious, an arcane, a noxious, or a curse on myself. As a healer, you can set those up to use cures on each one of those. It'll literally, to set that up just for informational awareness, you type in cure trauma, which is the name of the spell that cures trauma. You hit OK, you close. When a trauma shows up, you click this button, gets rid of the trauma. So for healers, that is an extremely important tool. This window right here is my threat list window. If you are new to the game and you haven't activated this window yet, type in toggle threat list window / toggle threat list window, all one word. This will pop up. This shows you every mob in a fight with you at once in a list. So let's go. Somebody just ran through and cleared everything. So look, these two aren't linked. I can pull one. One will show up in my threat list. If I pull the other, now I have two in my threat list. Everything that you have some form of threat against will show up in your threat list, allowing you to see every mob in the fight, as long as you've generated some sort of threat against them. That being said, so shamans, for instance, will see every mob that has hit a group member if they have their group ward up, because the group ward will generate some threat. As a tank, you will have to keep in mind that not every single mob that hits your healer might not have threat against you. If somebody butt pulls something in the back of the group, it's not going to show up here until you've generated threat or hit that mob. So you're not going to see things immediately like a shaman will, but you will be able to, once you've engaged everything, see everything in your threat. Now, this, just because you have threat against it doesn't mean it's actually on you. You'll notice the threat list window doesn't actually show the threat. We'll get into how I do that, which is with these overhead bars, in just a little bit. So that is something to keep in mind. It's not, while it's a useful tool to target the lowest health mob, which we'll get into, it's not a useful tool to know which target you have to taunt. That gets it as a nice little overview of Dark UI and how it helps me out. There's a couple of options I want to get into that I think help me tremendously as a tank. So if we go to options, go to user interface and turn on the advanced button on the top right, you'll see things like target arrow, which I have on. The encounter arrows are also on, and I have it full opacity, full size. I do not use the implied target arrow. So what that does is it puts this huge arrow over their head. If there's two mobs in an encounter, you'll see multiple arrows. Let's go over here. These three mobs in the back are linked. You'll see 3 arrows over their head. It doesn't, now the arrow that is the most visible is the target that you are targeting. That being said, the easiest way to tell which target you have is actually the flashing name, unfortunately. There's no easy, well, the other two flash, but that's what you're looking for. It's just, I think, any visual cue that helps you know what you've got targeted. And then in the middle of a fight with multiple encounters, you don't want to target a single mob, because if we turn off the encounter, it's just your target that's turned on. But now I don't know that these are linked unless I look at underneath them to see that all three have target circles. So if I hit a green AoE, I don't know that I'm hitting multiple. I like to put that on so that I know if there's a 4-pack and a 1-pack, if I click on one of them and it's just one arrow, I know not to hit my green AoEs, click on another one and then hit my green AoEs, so on. So that's one thing, or my encounter taunts for that matter. Same thing with the target ring. I have the ring as big as it can get, as bright as it can get, so that I can see as many things as I can that I have targeted. So here's a name, one arrow, but I can't see the ring, which is why I use both the arrow and the ring. On these ones, I can see the ring and the arrow. Works out really well. Target highlight, I also use glow. You can use outline, which makes it a little clearer what you're seeing, but I just don't think it looks as good. It doesn't look like an immersive MMO at that point. It looks like you have a weird, Cyberpunk 2077 looking glow to it. I think glowing the target works a little better for me, keeps me a little more immersed. But I put the target glow to full, target encounter glow to full. You'll notice all three of these mobs up here. When I click on them, all three of them glow. I think that works. I don't use the implied target glow. I don't want to see what they're targeting necessarily with an arrow, because it just throws superfluous arrows in the middle of the combat. So if all of a sudden they're targeting the healer, now there's an arrow over the healer while there's an arrow over all three of these guys. It gets messy. So I keep that toned down. And then the most important setting, in my opinion, for a tank is the name and chat bubble. Scroll down, show health and power for NPCs. What this will do is while you are engaged in a fight, will put their health, power, and threat over their head. The Default Dark UI gives you all three of those if you mouse over the enemy. By turning that on, it shows them at all times. You'll see what happens when I hit one of these. I killed one. But you'll see the red bar at the bottom is the threat meter. I have 100% threat on these two mobs. This works extremely well when you have multiple encounters or multiple mobs in a fight. If somebody pulls aggro off one of them, one of these red bars will turn to orange or yellow, or it won't be lit up at all. You'll know exactly which mob to click on to get to target what you need to taunt. So I think that works extremely well for the settings section of this guide. This should get you the basics of all the information you need to be successful. The next thing I'll talk about is targeting. So this is a tab targeted game. EverQuest 2 is considered a tab targeted game. If I hit tab, it'll target the mob that's kind of in front of you. The problem with that is that if you keep hitting tab, it targets through any target that is on your screen. Notice that one left the screen. I can hit tab now, and we're not changing targets. It's back on the screen. Tab works to change between the targets. It will cycle through every target on your screen before going back to the target that you originally tab targeted to. So if I go over here, I'm on one. See how that works? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it keeps going in the same order. This doesn't work like World of Warcraft does, where it's a little more intuitive, I believe, in World of Warcraft, where you can tab and you'll most likely end up on the target that you want. In EverQuest 2, tabbing in a dungeon is a very dangerous game to play. So I actually click most of my targets. It's safer, it's easier, it makes sure that you're targeting the right target. One of the reasons I suggest that you click your targets rather than tab until you get to the target that you want is that oftentimes people will be lazy assisting through you. Now, to lazy assist, because this game has target and target's target, if I were to target a player and they're targeting this Phyrexian Dragoon, I can hit my attack buttons and attack their target without having to target it directly. A lot of times you will find as a tank, players are lazy assisting through you, especially during long grind sessions, because it really does reduce the amount of thought you have to put into playing the game. You can just sit there and hit your rotation over and over. As long as the tank's changing to the next target, you're good to go. But if I'm tabbing through all my targets, so let's say we're going to fight this, and something aggro's from behind, I'm going to tab. It'll most likely target this one off to the off in the distance. If I tab again, it'll go to the one behind me. The problem with that is that during that brief moment where I was targeting the one off in the distance, that one, oh, see, now it targeted the one behind me. I wasn't expecting that. I can't even see that on my screen yet. If I target this for even a brief moment before I go to a third or a second or whatever this fourth one is that I can barely see on my screen, it just doesn't act predictable. But a spellcaster will be able to cast a spell and pull another mob into your fight, probably overwhelming you, which is why I do not recommend tab targeting. I recommend you click what you want to fight, and then once you are fighting 3 to 5 things or more, you use the threat list encounter window to pick what is lowest life, because finishing off mobs will get less damage onto you quicker. So if they're lazy assisting, which oftentimes they tend to do, the DPS tends to do, you want to cycle through and kill the lowest mobs first to make sure the overall damage throughput of the enemy goes down quicker. That's as long as you have all your taunt. Of course, you want to change targets as necessary to make sure you've taunted everything. But once you have red arrows above all of their names, go ahead and just target the lowest mob and start killing. Now, pulling is a very unique skill set that takes practice in EverQuest 2. Being a proficient puller takes a lot of practice in EverQuest 2. So I definitely suggest tanking and not getting power leveled if you're going to be a tank all the way through the levels, because you'll see lots of encounters, lots of different setups of mobs, and you'll learn how this works. The first thing we're going to talk about is face pulling. Face pulling is exactly what it sounds like. You walk, so say I want to pull this excavator right here. I walk up to it until it sees me and runs at me. There's a lot of advantages to face pulling rather than pulling with an ability or a taunt. The first of those is that mobs in this game are social. So you'll see, like, when this group behind me pulls, multiple mobs will come. They will cast, so we're going to follow them around for a second and we'll talk about it. But that one got butt pulled by somebody in the group, so the tank has to now turn around and get aggro on it. But see how there was 4 mobs in this area? 3 of them have been pulled already, though I don't believe anybody went around the room and pulled each of them individually. So either they were face pulled or they were ability pulled. If you ability pull, whether it be an arrow, a combat art, or a taunt, mobs will social. So these two are too far apart. I could taunt this right now, it wouldn't do anything. Right about here, when it was up in this little area right here, if I had pulled this mob would come with it. It's social. If you face pull, So if while this mob was right up here with this, where my mouse is, if I walked up to it, it would see me and run to me. But because I didn't generate any heat on it besides being KOS, this excavator that I have targeted right now would stay where it's at. And that's the important part of face pulling. You're going to walk into rooms later in the game, not even later in the game, any dungeon, for instance, where you're going to want 1 or 2 mobs, not 4 to 5 mobs, especially with the current state of mitigation. So face pulling is going to be an art. It is literally an art form. It makes you feel good when you get it right. Like, for instance, these two are not linked. Notice there's only one arrow when I click on one of them. I could run up in the middle here. They'll both see me at the same time. I'll face pull both of them. Or I could come up the right side and face pull this one. And, well, he just got engaged by a zombie. But if I pulled one or the other... Now, I'm level 70, and I'm running around a low-level dungeon, so I'm not pulling anything right now. I'll show you face pulling in just a second. Let me get to a safe corner, and I'll mentor. But these are all heroic, so actually I'm going to go back to the first area. Hope that group is gone and show you some face pulling on some easier mobs. So we've talked about being social. The next thing I'm going to talk about is an art form, or part of the art form, of pulling and using the socialness of mobs to your advantage. One thing I haven't talked about yet is with your taunts. You have, as a plate tank, a single target taunt, an encounter taunt with a green background, and you have a second single target taunt that is also a combat art that does damage. I think every plate tank, all 4 plate tanks, have those 3 buttons. Bruisers and monks only have the single target taunt and the encounter taunt, if I'm correct. The single target taunt might be a combat art as well. I'm not sure on that. I haven't really played a monk. But one of the things I wanted to discuss is how to use that to your advantage. So, if you are the tank and you are standing back here and we have mobs, I'm gonna give you some that one blue, and then we'll do these enemies in red. So let's say we have an encounter that is 1 mob, 2 mobs, 3 mobs, and a single mob standing over here. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I don't believe I am. If you were to pull this mob with a taunt, it would social this mob, but it wouldn't social these 2. Same thing, if you were to pull this mob right here with a taunt, it would social. These 2 are an encounter, so these 3 are coming no matter what. But this mob is close enough to this mob, it would pull these. So if you single target taunt this one, you're going to get all 4. If you single target taunt this one, you're going to get all 4. If you single target taunt this one, you're only going to get the 3 on the right. You're only going to get the 3 on the right, because the only mob that went social was the one that you single target taunted. If you encounter taunt this far right mob, all 3 of these mobs will shoot out a social AoE, bringing in the 4th mob. That is an important distinction to make. This happens in raids quite often, where one mob is close enough to you that you can taunt it. Its buddies are close enough to other mobs that you don't want to social them. So you single target taunt. So you move your butt around. Let's do this. So you take your butt over here. You single target taunt this one. You'll get all, and then you encounter taunt once the mobs are on you. Take them out, and then we can move yourself over to this mob and take it out. So that is an important skill to learn, using social mob mechanics to your advantage. The next thing we'll talk about is placement of after you pull. So if your group, a lot of times what you'll see as a tank is your group is right on your butt. Is right on your butt. I don't know why they don't stay back a little bit and let you pull the room. It's like, for instance, in this room, there's 4 mobs that spawn. If I, as the tank, and I'm not on comms with my group, if I'm in a pug, whatever, a lot of times people will follow me into this room. If they follow me into this room, so what I'll try to do as a tank is probably hug the right wall using this block, this rock to my advantage, and pulling this right mob, and then I'll pull it back. That's what I would like to do. I don't need to, in every dungeon, explain every single thought process behind what I'm doing. So I'm going to come up here and try to pull this one, face pull it. What'll probably happen is somebody will come up, or the group will stack like right here. And somebody will probably butt pull this one. So what I'll do is I'll taunt this one, back up, taunt the second one that comes, and I'll do what I call the pull through maneuver. Because mobs like to do frontals, and you cannot parry or riposte if a mob is hitting you in the back. So you want to be facing the mobs, and you want to get them away from your group far enough that, 1, the scouts can get behind it, and 2, they're not doing a frontal AoE on your healers or your casters. So if your group is stacking way too close to you, I'll face pull 1, taunt the second, pull them through the group. Now the mobs are facing me. The group is safely behind them. That's something that I use all the time. So the group would be where my little pet is here, and they'll be able to do their backstabs and whatnot and not get hit by any frontals the mobs may do. Otherwise, what you're going to do, if they're stacked back a little bit, so let's say they're hanging out back in this area, what you'll do is you'll pull the one, probably pull the second one, and face them away from the group. So the groups where my mouse is, I'm up here, everybody can get their backstabs in, everybody's safe. Now, when your auto attack is engaged, your character will face the enemy at all times that you're engaged with. Let's show that. So we'll engage this. Now I can move my camera. Well, I killed it, but let's go engage a heroic mob that'll live for a little while longer, and then I can move my camera while I'm still fighting. So this mob's still alive. I can move my camera. My character is still in combat, and that's what I want to do. So I'm not taking those back shots. I'm still parrying. I'm still riposting. That's what you want to do. As a tank, you do need to keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings. Make sure guys like this Phyrexian Overseer aren't sneaking up on you and attacking you mid-combat when your healer's not ready to handle it, or you're not ready to pick it up because your taunts are on cooldown, so on and so forth. So that's one of the big things I did want to touch on, is that you need to be aware of your surroundings at all times. Do not be afraid. You pull 2 and you're afraid that something's going to happen, or there's a pather coming or whatever. Do not be afraid to always back up to a safe spot. Move the mobs. It's okay. And it's okay, especially in dungeons, less so in raid, to take your time. And if you have to, move them through the group so that you're not hitting those frontals on people. In raid, it's much more of an issue, where mobs will frontal one time and kill people in your raid. But in a group setting, it's a lot easier to just be like, okay, we're moving back, guys. I know you guys are behind me. I'm going to pull all the way through you, and that way we're not getting pathers or extra mobs. The last skill that I really, really want to stress on is stacking the mobs. Now, I also play a swashbuckler, and as a berserker, I have open wounds, which are AE auto attack frontals. The way they work is they work in a cone. So we'll undo all this. So the way the cone works is out of cone, just like this. Anything in this cone will get hit by my AE auto attack. Anything not in this cone will not get hit by my AE auto attack. Your job as the tank is to get all the mobs in the kill zone, or the death funnel, right? To use an army term. We want to put them all in the funnel of and we want to make sure everybody can hit them with all of their abilities, whether they're frontals, blue AoEs, or whatnot. So there is a strategy to this, and I see some tanks struggle with this from time to time. So we're going to go deeper in the zone real fast, and we're going to pull a number of mobs, and I want to show you how to stack them properly. Okay. This is going to be perfect. We've got 6, 7, 8. I'm going to guide in the middle of all this. Now notice they form a cone around me. Almost a circle if they can. They'll form a circle around me. This is not stacked. We've only got a couple of mobs in my funnel. It's not perfect. What I do is I move, in this situation, I'm going to move to my target, Bula. Notice they're a smaller stack. Sometimes they rework, and now I've got them all in my funnel. If I hit open wounds right now and start auto attacking, every mob well, my target's off to the right, but then you just target something in the middle, and every mob in the middle, once I auto attack again, I killed the first one, will die. Every mob in the middle will die in a couple of auto attacks. And we're golden. So the secret is the maneuver that I pulled where so they come into a semicircle. You want to move to one of the corners of the semicircle. And I'll show you what that does in Microsoft Paint in just a second here. So So, if they mobs are all around you, you move your butt to one of the corners and face this way, face inward. What it'll do is if you're standing right where this marker is, right here, this mob and this mob will stay put. These 3 mobs will have to move to you and will most likely move 1 step and all of a sudden be in auto attack range. And now you've got all your mobs in this big little circle right here where we can funnel them. That's the goal at all times. So what you don't want to do is constantly be moving backwards. If you're constantly moving backwards, the mobs will just reset the semicircle around you, and they won't be stacked. So we're going to show you how this works one more time, and we'll call this a guide. But let's go find 6 or 7 mobs over this way. Get them in a semicircle, and I'll restack them. Guide is an amazing ability that Berserkers have where I can just AE taunt. So I got 4 here. Let's go get 1 or 2 more. There's a single target taunt. There's my encounter taunt. So now they're going to form this semicircle. Notice they're literally almost a perfect semicircle around me. If I move this way, they're all in my funnel of death. It's that simple. You just move a little bit to the left, bring them all in. Now all your AoEs are going to work. Additionally, what this does for you as a tank is hopefully your group is standing somewhere off to your back, or somewhere off to the back of these mobs, or you're facing it away from the group. So that, so notice how I keep them all, I can move around in a circle around these guys and they'll just stay there. Because I'm staying within auto attack range of all of them. So now I just make sure I'm facing them away from the group. And what this does as well is when you lose taunt on one of these red bars goes not red, it'll move off to the group. It'll move off to your healer, and you'll be able to easily click on that mob, taunt it from where you are, and get it right back into the funnel of death. So that's what we're looking to do. It's really fun set of mechanics. I do love the way the encounter system works in EverQuest 2. I think it makes tanking a ton of fun. There's a lot of challenges to overcome, a lot of practice to get good with it, and it's just really enjoyable, guys. So I hope this guide gives you some of the basics that will make you more successful as you tank in EverQuest 2. Again, this is for the Origin server. If you have any other tips, tricks, builds, if you want build diversity, if you want AAs, if you want any other guides, please sound off below, and I'll get working on some of that stuff for you guys. Thank you.